Whether you call it a bow tie, a butterfly, or a Dutchman, it's still beautiful. I don't care what you call them, I really like the way they look. And traditionally they're there to save a crack so that the crack doesn't split farther. A lot of the Nakashima-inspired tables have them in there. But in all honesty, they're really there for looks, for aesthetics. They can really set off a piece and give that little bit of interest that you've been looking for. And there are a lot of different names they go by, but I want to show you the simple way that I do this with hand tools. So let's dive in and take a look. For these, I'm going to be using a piece of Peruvian walnut, a little scrap I had lying around, and I like to keep little odd scraps for this type of thing. I don't use any particular format or formula for drawing these out. I just literally say I want it to be about this long, and I put lines in there to show, let's make it shaped like that. And I really like them to be kind of odd shaped, personally. But yeah, that's me. So for cutting them out, I'm actually going to cut in to the middle of the bow tie on either side. That'll give me a place that I can then cut down to and remove these chunks out. Just use a rip cut tenon saw to slice down each corner to the middle and try and meet them as close in the middle as possible. But you never make them perfect, and I always like to clean them up a little bit. I want them to be a little bit smoother than what the saw leaves them. So with a little bit of chisel, I can clean out from one side, and then I can flip around and clean out from the other side and try to get that corner where they meet really nice and clean. It doesn't take a whole lot of work as long as you're careful. You can make this look very nice. Not that it really matters that much in the end. So with a little bit of double-sided tape, I can position it and lock it down in place. You can do it without the double-sided tape and just hold it down and mark it out, but I find it tends to slide around a little bit, and the double-sided tape just makes a quick and easy guarantee that it's not going to cause you too many issues. Now with the marking knife, I want to actually slightly undercut this just a little bit. I can use the flat of the marking knife to ride along the wall, but I actually like to tip it away a little bit just to try and put the tip of the knife slightly underneath the block. I want to make it a little smaller than it has to be. And so after that line has been made, I can come in and then make a depth cut. Now I'm staying away from the line I just made. I'm about a 16th to an 1/8 inch away. I don't want to get anywhere near it. I don't want to compress those fibers. I'm just taking a knock down, just as much as 1 or 2 solid hits will take it down. Then with a smaller chisel, I'm going to come in with the bevel down and remove out a layer down to what I have just chopped. I'm not taking out a solid amount, I'm just taking off enough to give myself a depth all the way around. This is where you have to be very careful, because here it is very easy to blow out the far side. So once I've taken it down that first 16th to an 1/8 inch, I'm going to come back in with the chisel and cut in again, and then repeat the process. Bevel down and remove the waste. And I'm just going to do this a few times, 16th to an 1/8 inch of cut every time. Some people might use an auger to bore it out, but I find this to actually be a little bit faster. Then as I get close to the end, and I'm down to my depth, which is about a 1/2 inch, I'm actually going to go all the way around and go right into that marking gauge line and clean this out. Now I really want to be very careful to keep the chisel perfectly vertical so that my chops down these walls are really nice and clean. I don't like to go all the way through the board. I like to leave a little bit, about 1/3 of the board at the bottom. So in this case, I'm only going down a 1/2, which this board is 3/4 thick. And then for the glue up on these, I like to have a flat bottom so that the long grain to long grain has a good connection. So I'll just use a router plane to clean out the bottom and flatten it out, giving it a nice spot for the glue to adhere to. Speaking of glue, don't be afraid to be a little liberal here. It will squeeze out, that is not a problem. You can always pound out the glue. So I put a good bit in the bottom, and then I put a bead all the way around the outside edge, so that when I pound it in, it will push that bead down in the walls. I don't worry about smearing it in on the bottom side. Squeezing this in will fill that out nicely. So I just pound it all the way down in, and until it stops. Now I always like to leave it with a good amount sticking up above the top, so I can come in with a chisel and clean it out. You have to be careful with the grain run away, that it doesn't run down into the bow tie, but this stuff, it was fairly straight grained and really easy to take it down fairly close to. and then you can plane it down to surface, and then I like to finish it with a card scraper because the grain is going in two directions. Card scraper is great for going across the grain, giving you that nice clean finished surface. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's a really simple task. A lot of people like to overthink it and make it bigger than it is. And really, this particular one took me about 15-20 minutes at most. And it's not that big of a deal. It is a fairly simple task. You don't need to spend a lot of time working on it and making it just right. As long as you make your layout correct and save those lines for the very last thing you touch, you'll end up with a really nice looking bow tie. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit like and smash that subscribe button. Also want to say an incredible thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are the reason why this channel continues today. If you'd like to find out more about that, you can click the link right over here. Also, if you liked the video, feel free to check out one of my others. You might find something you like there. And until next time, have a wonderful day.